If I cut you off, it's your 3-minute time frame. We are in public comment, so you're free to submit additional written comment if you don't have time to state what you want to state.
Can I ask you another question? You guys used the term workshop in the past. Is that
Work session.
what session? Is that the board meeting in July?
So a work session is slightly different. So a work session is the board will invite certain individuals or groups to have more of a discussion. And those invitations have gone out, and that same day, the work session, I believe, is from 11 to 1.
Okay.
And then after that, the board's going to take a break and then come back for public.
Okay. Thank you.
So with that, we'll open up the public comment period. I'll ask Jennifer Dask to invite the first person in the room to come up and provide testimony.
Okay. I'd also like to add that this is being recorded and will be shared with the board.
Yeah, that's a good point. After this meeting, I'm taking notes. We'll also have the recording. I'll put together a summary for the board, but the board does have access to this. And I would not be surprised if several of the board members do watch this. I can't tell you what they're going to do with the information, but from past practices, they do watch this. They are paying attention. They listen. They take everything into consideration. So, and my summary is just for their benefit. If they have questions, they have access to the video. So with that, Jennifer,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're good now. Okay.
Good job.
Sorry.
So we're gonna have one person testify in the room, then we'll go to an online person. I don't think there's as many people online. So as long as there's somebody online, we'll alternate. Otherwise, we'll take testimony from people in the room. And after your testimony, you can stay and listen, or you can leave. So, but like I said earlier, that is your opportunity to speak. It's at 3 minutes. So by sticking around, you're not going to be given an additional opportunity to speak. So with that,
Okay, ready. Corey Hibbert.
you can state your name and then your 3 minutes will start.
My name's Corey Hibbert. I'm just a regular fisherman, fished the Siletz for 40 years. Now that I'm retired, was kind of the deal. I hope to fish a lot more, but as you get older, your shoulders go out, your balance isn't as good. So I depend on my little 8-horse motor to get me through slack water on the Siletz, which the wind usually is blowing upstream as you're going through there. I also use it to get out at ramps, like the town ramp. I'm not really able to get my boat into the town ramp without the use of my motor. Same thing with the slide and Morgan Park. I need them for all 3 of those for a safety thing for us, because when my wife and I go, there's no way that her and I can get the boat safely into those docks without the use of the motor. Plus, there's a lot of slack water from town down, which without the motor, my shoulders are just completely shot by the time I get down there. So effectively, without the motor, I would effectively be unable to fish the Siletz River. So it's pretty important for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Kira.
On this,
sorry.
Jennifer, could you turn the
Turn-
clock a little bit so I
turn
can see the
Oh,
time
yeah,
frame?
yeah, yeah. Kira Morgan. Online.
I don't have any comment at this time.
Okay. Okay, you'll have to forgive me on this one. Is it Mark? I think it's
Maury.
Maury. Okay, yeah, it's your turn.
I'm Moira, and I'm also too just a average fisherman that goes on the Siletz, and I'm coming at the same thing as Corey was here, that I've been on that river for close to 50 years, 2-3 times a week. It seems like summertime a little bit less, but I do have problems that is going to limit me, that I won't be able to row. And without that motor, that might be the end of me fishing on that river at all. It's a handicap deal. I know. And as far as anything else goes, as long as I've been fishing on that river, I haven't seen any real problems with a motor. I've seen when they first got there. I've seen when just people rode and everything else. And I just think we went over this 10 years ago as well. And it's the same deal. So I just think it's a little bit, some other reasons than just motors. There's some other reason involved here. And I don't quite know what it is or what it is, but I would like to see them stay so I can still keep fishing this river. Because if they don't, then I could be pretty well capped out and not going over there either. So that's it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Online, Misty Logan.
I guess I'm here more to listen. Sorry, my name is Misty Logan. I'm here to listen, mostly because my parents' home is right there at the entrance of Mill Park. And with the road sliding off, I'm wondering what's being leveraged compared to getting those repairs done for funding and motor use. So I'm just here to educate myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Byron. Last name starts with O.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
okay. I'm Byron North, just a regular everyday angler. Been fishing the Siletz since I was a little boy. Been seeing a lot of issues regarding the motors, saying that motors create conflict or signal conflict when it's quite the opposite. Motors actually provide opportunity. They don't take away opportunity. Everyone gets a turn to fish. It could be someone in a hole. You could be running the motor. Someone comes down rowing or with the motor. They get an opportunity. You work your way back up. It's a crowded river. It's a way that more people get to fish together as opposed to one individual coming down, putting an anchor down. There's a lot of talk about, it's to help the fish, this and that. One thing for sure, an anchor hits the bottom, digs in the gravel every time it's released. That is absolutely not the case with the motor. You can't prove that. Motors are expensive, so are props. That was the case. People be buying new motors and props all the time, and it's just not how it is. A lot of guys out there have the same motor on their boat for the last, 5, 10, 15 years. So obviously they're not running across the bottom like it's been claimed. That's a pretty false statement. But an anchor touches the gravel every time. Those eggs they talk about that the motors are turning up, I don't know. I think an anchor would crush those before you could prove a motor actually did something to them. Sounds like a lot of opinions on that. Other than that, I take my kids over there. The motor gives me an opportunity to help them out, learn to be a better angler, just creates a more positive day. Other than that, just want to express I'm definitely not a fishing guy, just a dad who likes to go over there, fish the Siletz River, and would like to see the motors continue to be used as much as they can be on the Siletz. And I'm definitely against banning them in any way, shape, or form. So thank you. Thank you.
Online, Siobhan Garrett. Siobhan, if you'd like to speak, go ahead and take yourself off mute.
You see your hand up, Siobhan, can you unmute?
I think I can unmute.
If you click on the microphone, it doesn't.
I can't unmute her. Okay, we'll come back to you. I don't know why it's not allowing you to speak. So we'll come back to you, Siobhan. Let's go Riley Olson.
Good morning.
My name is Riley Olson. The Siletz River is an important place for me and many others. I've been fishing the Siletz River for well over 3 decades. I started guiding on this river with my drift boat over 7 years ago, as well as fishing the Siletz Gorge. I believe the Oregon State Marine Board should not move forward with this motor ban. The river is a resource for all of us, and not only for enjoyment and recreation, but for food and for many of us, financial stability. The rules that are currently set in place should remain. I personally do not have any knowledge of anyone having issues with drift boats or with motors. I want to sustain what is already in place for the Siletz River. The city of Newport, Toledo, and Siletz and GP paper mill take millions of gallons of water out per day. This can negatively affect our salmon and steelhead runs. They are now considering logging more of the upper basin. Most of us know it as the Valley of the Giants. This would greatly alter our future salmon and steelhead runs. Right now, our coastal rivers like Umpqua, Sayula, Alice, Siletz, and more all allow gas motors. It's more than reasonable to continue to allow motors on the Siletz River. I fully protest these opportunities getting taken away from us. Every year, the Siletz River has one of the most productive salmon and steelhead runs in the state. Banning motors will largely alter who can and will fish the Siletz River. This ban will also restrict the amount of days we can fish for winter steelhead during high water. It is much safer to use a motor when the river is high levels. In turn, this case can also affect the amount of income I have to provide for my family, my wife, and my 2 young daughters. In my opinion, this is more of a social issue rather than an environmental issue.
Okay, let's try Siobhan again. There you go. We see that you're off mute.
Can't hear you though.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Siobhan Garrett. I am a member of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians. I'm here today to speak about the escalating safety issues and cultural conflict on the Siletz River. For generations, the Siletz River has sustained my people. It's not just a recreational playground. It is our ancestral lifeline, lifeblood, our kitchen, our home. Today, our tribal members still rely on these waters for sustenance, fishing to feed our families, and to practice traditions passed down by our ancestors. But right now, our safety and our way of life are being threatened. High-speed wakes are eroding our riverbanks, destroying fragile habitats, and physically endangering bank anglers. This is just not a matter of user conflict. It's a matter of safety, environmental stewardship, and respect for tribal sovereignty. The Siletz River is not owned by any single recreational group, and it cannot continue to bear the brunt of the unchecked motorized use. The Siletz River has taken care of my people since the beginning of time. Today, it is our collective responsibility to take care of the river. Please take into consideration the motor ban above Jack Morgan Park. This would implement measures that prioritize safety, ecology, and cultural respect over recreational motorized boats. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg Hedrick.
Thanks for taking the time to hear us today. My name is Greg Hedrick. I'm a fishing guide who operates on the Siletz River. I'm here today to just highlight a couple of issues with the proposed motor restrictions. So first, regarding access and funding, motor users are a major source of funding for the Marine Board through registration fees and fuel taxes. Those funds help support boat ramp improvements and public access projects. On the Siletz, facilities like Moonshine Park and Old Mill Park are already in need of significant improvements, including safer launch areas, better parking, ADA accessibility, and restrooms. These are not minor improvements. These are important safety and access issues for everyone who uses the river. And my concern is that if motorized use is removed from these areas, that we may unintentionally make it harder to secure future funding for projects that improve safety and access for all users of the river. The second issue I want to touch on is conflicts on the river. Conflict has been brought up repeatedly throughout this process, and I'd ask the board to take a deeper look at what's truly driving the perceived conflicts. Conflicts exist on every river with shared use, and it likely always be that way. I think the key question that deserves a little more research is whether the conflicts on the Siletz are actually caused by motor users, or whether they stem from differences in fishing styles and differing expectations about how the river is supposed to be used. My biggest concern is that if the Marine Board supports a motor ban without clearly showing that motor use is the actual cause of the conflicts, that it could set a concerning precedent. You're opening the door for one user group to place blame on another and use conflict as a justification to restrict access. Last thing I wanted to touch on was I had seen that there was a financial impact statement that came out, basically just said there was no significant economic impact. And I did notice on the paper that was handed out here that under the cost of compliance, you guys did highlight that some guides will, be capable of only guiding 2 individuals rather than 3. But I just wonder how much really went into understanding kind of the financial impact that would cause to guides, with the average flows on the Siletz during the winter months being, over 3,000 CFS. That puts the majority of the use up in the upper river from Moonshine Park down. And rowing a boat at those river flows, it's pretty physically demanding to row 3 full-grown adults down the river versus 2. And when I did a quick analysis of how many times I fish 3 people in my boat, I'm usually 50 to 60% of my trips, I have 3 people in the boat. And so if I was having to reduce that down to 2 people, I anticipated about a 20% reduction in what I make during the winter steelhead months on the Siletz. And it also should be brought up that it's not just guides that are affected by this. Siletz River shuttle service is also going to get from
Your testimony.
You're welcome.
Online, John Larison.
Thank you for this opportunity to testify. I would like to speak in support of the tribe's proposal. The tribe is not just a user group. They are hosts on the river. This situation is not like other river basins where one user group might ask for a motor ban. The tribe is asking for this, and I think we should respect that as visitors on their lands. I've been fishing the Siletz since I was 7 years old in the 80s. I take my kids there. I row the river every time. I've fished with motors on the river as well. I guided the river for several years, about 10 to 15 years ago, and oars work really well on the river. There's a lot of oaring down the river that doesn't involve anchors. This is, to me, an issue for most of the folks in the room of like habit and what we've gotten used to doing on the river is running a motor. But banning motors, in my opinion, won't take away the opportunities to fish the river. There's plenty of bank access. And lastly, I'd say that that banning motors from Jack Morgan up, that I'd like to speak in defense of that. There have been a lot of boats in recent years running upstream with props, throwing giant wakes for several miles up the river down there. And it so feels important to me to make sure that we stop that practice. Lastly, I would say that in my time on the river, what I've seen is that in the 80s and the 90s, when we were all rowing, there's a group of fish moving upriver. we'd go by the fish one time, we'd catch a couple fish and we'd keep going. And what's happening now is there's fewer and fewer waves of fish coming in. People with motors have the opportunity to keep hitting the same group of fish over and over. And our take is going up as the number of fish returning is going down. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much.
Logan Ellis.
My name's Logan Ellis. First off, I want to start with about the financial economical impact. There might not be financial impact to guides who take 1 or 2 people in a row. However, myself and many others who run motors and take 3 people, plus also a broodstock tank full of water. When the water's high, it's very hard to row that every day. If motors are taken away, a lot of us will lose taking a third person when it's high water. Could lose up to 40% of my profit during that time. Second, I would like to know where the mill deadline came from the new ruling. During the RAC meetings, we never really talked about Old Mill. More it was about Ilhi and above. Putting a deadline Ilhi would make more sense, as Old Mill Park has no parking compared to Ilhi. No bathrooms, and the ramp is also in terrible condition. We've seen the city tractor fall off the edge of the ramp into the river. We've also had a truck and trailer sliding in the river this year. And so that ramp needs to be addressed. Compared to Ilhi, where overflow parking, we work with the city to park behind the library. There's bathrooms. And also Ilhi is the salmon deadline. So it's already a well-known deadline. If we can just make it there, it'd be easier for people to understand, no confusion. And then above there, Moonshine Ramp, if you don't know, is in terrible condition as well. When the water is low, it's all falling off and very hard to launch there. So we need to keep some sort of motors above town to be able to keep funding to fix that ramp. And maybe we need to look at electrics above Ilhi. That would solve a lot of problems with no pollution, no noise, and less complaints. They can't rerun the riffles as well. And also it's more consistent with rivers nearby, such as the Wilson and Trask, where you can have gas motors to a certain section and then electric motors above. Another thing I'd like to address is a lot of people are saying how motors, you make multiple passes in a hole. Just casting once though, through the hole, make 5 passes, that's 5 casts, versus anchoring and you sit on the hole and cast 50 times. What's worse? Last thing, been seeing some interviews, people saying they don't fish the river anymore due to motors. That would be an example of off-river conflict. Just because they don't like the motors, they're not fishing the river, but nothing is stopping them. Thank you.
Okay, online, Cassandra Hedrick.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got
Yeah.
it.
All right. My name is Cassandra Hedrick. I am a Siletz tribal member and employee of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, and I live here in Siletz with my daughter. I'm here today to speak in support of the Siletz River petition and to prohibit motorized watercraft upstream of the Jack Morgan Park. For me, this issue is not abstract. The Siletz River is part of our home, our culture, our food source, and our responsibility to future generations. My daughter is growing up here. I want her to inherit a river that is healthy, fishable, and respected, not one that is increasingly damaged by heavy boat traffic, erosion, and pressure on an already vulnerable fish runs. I understand that many people care deeply about fishing on the Siletz River. Tribal members care about fishing too. This petition is not anti-fishing. It's about protecting the river so that fishing can continue for everyone in the future. The tribe's letter that was sent identifies several serious concerns, some of which are the motorized boats that can contribute to bank erosion, sedimentation, reduced water quality, disturbance to the salmon spawning habitat, and increased fishing pressure. The letter also notes that the tribe has invested significant time and resources into improving aquatic habitat and fish populations in the Siletz River system, and those efforts benefit tribal and non-tribal users alike. There's also a fairness issue. Motorized boats, especially those used by commercial guides, can create an advantage over people fishing from the bank and using non-motorized watercraft. That changes the character of the river and increases pressure in areas that are already important for salmon and other fish. The tribe's request is also reasonable and targeted. It does not ask the river to close for fishing. It asks for a conservative protection measure upstream of Jack Morgan Park, where the impacts of motorized use are especially concerning. The proposed rule language would prohibit the use of motor to propel a boat upstream of Morgan's boat ramp. As a tribal member, a local resident, a voter, a parent, and an employee who sees the importance of protecting our natural resources, I respectfully ask the board to support the Siletz petition. Protecting the river is not only about today's users. It's about our children, our salmon, our drinking water, our culture, and the long-term health of the Siletz River. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just writing. Grant, Sheely?
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Grant Sheely, long-term user of the river. And when this petition first came out, I talked to some people on the Marine Board, and I was told it would make the Marine Board super happy if we sat down with the petitioners and came up with a solution that worked for both sides. Unfortunately, in short order, all of us burned through all of our connections with the petitioners, and we were frankly stonewalled. We've not been able to talk to anybody. We literally have never sat down, and because we wanted to get together and talk. It also concerns me that the board is considering taking away a preferred method of propulsion to over 80% of the river users without getting a chance to have that sit down and talk compromise. We totally, if there's issues out there, we want to know about them and sit down and talk about them. And let me be clear, we feel like the gas motor use doesn't stop other users from using their oars, their anchors, or even just floating by. Yet they're asking us to stop doing what we prefer. After our last meeting in Tillamook, many of us guides and motor users were outside debriefing. Angela from the tribe stopped by and very politely joined our conversation. We actually appreciate it. It's the first time we got to talk to somebody about it. During this conversation, she stated that she agreed this conflict was not an on-water conflict, but a social issue where many of the tribal members were intimidated by our use of gas motors. That was flabbergasting to us. We hadn't heard that. And we absolutely want to get together and talk about it. At the time, Angela thought that was a good idea, but she went back, and since we've gotten an email that was sent directly to Scott, that's not going to happen. They're not going to sit down and talk to us. So it's unfortunate. We really want to sit down and talk. I'm going to skip that one. I got a minute. Lastly, I want to suggest something. As stated before, I was one of the very first person to start using a gas motor in the Siletz River. I recognized right away there was people on the river that didn't appreciate that. So I went out of my way to, if I didn't recognize somebody as on my team, I put my motor away and I rode. On a Saturday, some days I rode the entire day because I was just no place for me to run my motor. On a Tuesday, be wide open. I could fish all day and not see anybody else. I had a state trooper contact me and say, hey, we got a complaint. I talked to him. Grant, I wish everyone ran the motor the way you did. You're super polite. Keep doing what you're doing, buddy. I'm going to say this really fast and running out of time. Can we, as a group, get together and make that an etiquette rule that we put our motors away when we flow by people that don't appreciate them? I think we'd all be willing to do that and take away the smell and the noise of the river for the people that don't like it, like Angela.
Thank you. That's right.
Carter Malaburn online.
No comment, present for observation only.
Bob Spellbrink.
Yeah, good morning. Looks like it's still morning. Bob Spellbrink, Siletz, Oregon. I just wanted to talk about access in the, on the lower river. You know, if for the proposal, the way it's written now, you're gonna lose access on that lower river. If you can't, I fished, 2 or 3 miles above Morgan Park out of a small boat, propeller driven, when the river's 4 feet or higher for 40 years. We moved there in 1978. Anyway, and never had a problem or conflict. But if you take that ability to fish upstream from Morgan Park away, then you have the slide, the next boat access upstream is Ojala Bridge. And that's that steep stairs and slide there that basically is inaccessible to most persons with handicapped or even advanced age. There's no bank access at all, no public bank access at all between Ojala Bridge and Morgan Park. So there's no access there. And there's gonna be a lot of people that don't have access anymore to that river that have fished for years. I fished for a long time, and the 3 or 4 older people that fish with me on a consistent basis, none of them can use the ramp at or the slide and the stairs at Ojala Bridge. And I just think there's a lot of people there that have been using that river, fishing basically the bottom 2 or 3 miles of it, not causing conflict. And you're going to take those people out of the fishery. And like I say, I just don't think that it's right to take the handicapped folks and the people that can't access the river at Ojala Bridge, and then the boat ramp above that hillside is terrible shape too. A lot of these folks can't even get in and out of a drift boat. And anyway, it's just I think you're going to lose a lot of public access to that section of river if you follow through with the proposal that's on the books now. Thank you.
Marita Relatos.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Get an echo.
We have a bad echo.
Oh, no.
By chance, do you have your computer microphone and like a earbuds or something both on?
No, I don't.
So we're getting a terrible echo. Is it possible that you could, are you on your computer?
Yes.
Maybe if you called in?
Okay. Sorry. Darn it.
I'll put the call
Carter, help me.
in the chat.
We'll skip you for now, but if you show up, we'll go ahead. You'll have to be the next online person. Jennifer sending the call.
Give me just a second here.
Yeah, no problem.
Sure.
Gotta love technology.
Yeah, sorry, it'll just be a moment.
Jennifer, I got it.
You have the call-in information?
Yeah, I can just drop it in the chat.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, let's, well, thank you, Phil. David Johnson?
Great. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is David Johnson. I'm a guide in Tillamook that regularly travels the 2 hours down to the Siletz River so that I can use my 9.9 on my drift boat. One of the reasons I go there is to get away from the crowds that are on Tillamook County rivers. There can be where I can use my motor and on the sleds because there's so many boats on the Tillamook rivers at anchor you can hardly fish. And the motor saves on my shoulder and my back and helps me provide access to other anglers. I want to say that if it's an issue of conflict on the Siletz, why does it always have to be regulations and why can't we educate? We should have, or why should everybody that does things right be limited by a few uneducated or bad apples? I'm sure we'd be all willing to even have classes or billboards or something like that to, police ourselves and be educated better on river etiquette. If the motors are the reason for a fish decline and animal decline, why are they not declining on, or why are they declining on the rivers that don't have motors on them? The Tillamook rivers are doing worse than the Siletz, even though we can't have gas motors on them. I don't think it's been shown that motors have caused any decline. And then lastly, I'd like to finish with the question is, can the Marine Board afford to lose more boat registration fees and the funding for their boat ramps? Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see Marita back on phone, so we'll go to the next. Charla Strong.
Charlotte Strong.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi there. My name is Charlotte Strong. My mom is Kathy Kenta. My great-grandmother is Joanne Miller Kenta Downey. I myself first learned to fish as a child from the bank of our family property on the Siletz River. Today, as we advocate for this rule, I'm thinking of generations of my family who live, hunt, and fish in Lincoln County. I'm a Siletz tribal member, and in 2010, I was hired by the tribe to start a traditional foods program for our tribal community. Indigenous peoples' lifeways and foods have been shown to have a strong correlation with our health. When Indigenous peoples are prevented from accessing our ancestral diet, our health suffers. Many people today suffer from diabetes and other diet-related ailments. The main goal of our traditional foods program was to increase the consumption of traditional foods. One of the biggest challenges I faced as I worked toward that goal was that many Siletz tribal families do not have easy access to traditional foods. Salmon are a staple food for our ancestors. Siletz people have managed the fishery of this river for thousands of years. Today, our traditions are threatened by decreasing salmon populations. I will say that again, salmon are a staple food for our tribe. The Siletz Tribal Fishery Program has been working for many years to measure and improve river conditions. Today, as we work to restore salmon, what our people call eel, also known as lamprey, native oysters, and more, the tribe would love to have an increased salmon population, and we're doing our part. Over generations, our people have witnessed our abundant fisheries dwindle, and today, as we see the impacts of low water levels, dangerously high temperatures, and algae blooms. Our people are fishing people, and fishermen want more fish. As Siletz people, our health and our culture rely on access to fish. This rule is an effort to help spawning and juvenile salmon, reduce conflict, and make the conditions on the river safer for all boaters. I believe the tribe scientists and other scientists have provided data about the risks to juvenile salmon from boat activity. Boats will still be accessing the river, but by treading carefully on the water, boaters would be demonstrating a similar ethic to leave no trace. We need boats visiting our home to share in the responsibility of protecting our vulnerable young fish. I strongly support Oregon Administrative Rule 250-020-0231 boat operations in Lincoln County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kurt Curry.
That must be.
Hi, I'm Kurt Curry. I've been guiding the Siletz River for 22 years. Appreciate the opportunity.
Hang on 1 second. We have another echo. Oh, my goodness. Come on, everybody. Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, you're fine.
Okay.
Less than 1% of Oregonians live on an Oregon River. A small percentage of Siletz Riverfront owners don't care for the use of motors on the upper Siletz, and they would like motors to be outlawed on the upper Siletz. Statements have been made that motors above Jack Morgan Park are unhealthy to the river. Statistics have not been provided to support these statements. If motors are removed above Morgan Park on the Siletz, I personally will lose 15 to 20% of the income I earn in January, February, and March. This economic impact is not insignificant to me, but maybe insignificant to others, or they may be seen that it is insignificant. If motors are determined to be unhealthy to the Siletz, it comes to reason that motors are unhealthy to all rivers above where tidewater stops and freshwater starts. The Marine Board is going to be very busy eliminating motor use above tidewater on the road where 100 passenger boats run up and down the river daily in the summer as they dodge rafts and drift boats. Onto the chutes where 26-foot jet sleds run up and down the river. In addition to rivers that are legal to run motors, including the Siletz, which is the North and South Umpqua, the Main Umpqua, South Fork Coquille, Main Coquille, Santiam, Alsea, etc. Precedent set in these proceedings has the potential to create a huge economic impact, not only to the Marine Board, but the communities it represents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Try, Marita, let's try again. It's *6 to unmute your phone.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you with no echo.
Yay.
Whenever you're ready.
Hello. Thank you. Hello, I am Marita Celine Relatas. I am on the Siletz Tribal Council. And I appreciate everyone's words today, but I am an elder and I grew up on the Siletz River and have dramatically seen the effects on our river. And I just really want to impress upon that we're stewards of the land and the water. And I just feel I was on the Save Our Siletz board in 2017, and the river is our life. The salmon is our brain food. The eels are no more. I grew up eeling with my family, which is lamprey, and you know, we had smokehouses all over the reservation, and it just really saddens my heart to see last year how low our river was. And I have to ask folks, you know, what are our great grandchildren going to be drinking? You know, I know we all love fishing and I appreciate people's testimonies, but I feel like we're in a real hazardous time on our river. We were able to stop some of the biosolids being dumped above the intake, and that has helped. But our river is in high demand and high priority. Water is life, and I just feel like that we have to be better stewards. It really saddens me to see the motorboats blowing over our spawning areas, and I'm not seeing any of you there have done that. You sound respectable in your ways you fish, but I just really support the ban of this, on sections of the Siletz River. It is our life way, it is our life, and it always has been. I grew up fishing, and now I fish out in the ocean with our elders, and I learned how to fish by my grandmother and my auntie and my dad, and it just really saddens my heart how polluted our river is, and we are stewards of the voice for the river. It's a voiceless, sacred river to us, and I hope you can understand that one day, where will our water come from? So I appreciate all the people today and for this opportunity to speak, and just know that we all have to be better stewards. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Randy Bales.
Thank you guys for having me today. Randy Bales of Lured Beads and Guide Service. 2012, head on at 55 miles an hour. I survived somehow, left me with 3 herniated discs in my back. My guide business for guiding on that river will end because I can't use a motor. I can't row. Fast forward, my dad has dementia, stage 6. I cannot take him down that river without that boat. So you can see how this affects me very deeply. I've been nothing but super respectful to that river all these years. I have a broodstock tank in my tank, and I participate in the program every year with 3 clients that love to fish that river. I cannot row that river. I cannot do the broodstock program. I will lose 100% of my income on that river guiding. $15,000, $18,000 over the winter. You don't think that affect you? I mean, you're crazy if you don't. I will gladly use my motor to help any Siletz member to obtain salmon for their food banks. I will do anything I can to help improve that. I do river cleanups every year where we go down the river, we stop and we motor back up to get stuff off the bank to keep it clean. We even do that while we're fishing. We'll go pick up trash on the side. You can't do that without a motor. There's a way to work this out where it benefits everybody, not just one user group wanting it for themselves. And when you have a bunch of user groups that are willing to bend and help you make it a better place. We could broodstock fall chinook, which would help the populations explode. Enough fish for all your food banks, for anybody that wants to fish the river. A lot of the people I take are veterans. My dad's a veteran, and I donate my time. I do free trips with veterans every season. And it's to benefit them, and to make a little bit more spark in their life at the end of their life. Motors are not hurting that river. A drag and an anchor down through there is going to destroy more than anything. It causes parking issues where people get mad because you can't get in fish in a hole. Go fish the Wilson and Trask. Everybody launches at before daylight to camp on a hole to have that hole for the entire day. And then you got 20 boats coming down that don't get the opportunity to fish there. With the Siletz, you can run up and back and you get the opportunity to fish with motors. You have a guy on anchor, you just let him go. Anyway, thank you guys for your time. And again, I am willing to help any way I possibly can with the Siletz tribe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mills.
Gary Whetstone online. Gary? If you'd like to speak, go ahead and go off mute.
Hi, my name is Gary Whetstone, and I grew up in Siletz, Oregon, and have used and utilized the river for pretty much my whole life, and use it in a variety of ways, from kayaking and tubing from above the Wildcat Bridge in the gorge to the mouth of the river with my power sled. I'm a recreational fisher on the upper part, and I guide on the lower part of the river. I think the first time I used a motor on the river, I was about 9 years old, and I had a friend that lived on the river by Sam's Creek, and we would, after school, we'd go down to the bank, get in the boat, and we'd motor up above Sam's Creek, and we would fish and catch steelhead, and that was my first motor experience when I was that age. And now I use a motor to fish. If I usually just go by myself if I'm using my drift boat for steelhead, and I won't be able to fish without stopping and anchoring. But as it is now, you could fish as you go down if you use your motor. And I just feel like, there's not the conflict that, somebody had said it was cultural conflict. I heard a testimony earlier. And, it was a river conflict. I think we're all stewards of the river, and we all, like, for part of the Siletz Anglers Association, we do a lot of projects to better the river. And it seems like the tribe, they think that, they're the only stewards, or the ones that are interested. And I think we all have a vested interest in making the river healthier. And, I don't know. I think that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Jerome Freeman.
My name is Jerome Freeman, and I appreciate everybody taking the time to hear my testimony today. I'm a recreational fisherman on the Siletz River, along with a handful of other rivers in Oregon that I enjoy to fish. I was part of the RAC process in the beginning, and throughout this, we're almost a year into this now, and I just want to mention as a whole, as a country, as a society, as people, it's just kind of sad that here we are a year in, and we can't even sit down as a group, talk to each other, that there's such disdain for the other side, one side or the other, that we won't even sit down and have a conversation about the issue at hand. We've established through the process of all this, there's no safety concerns on this river as far as motors are concerned. As mentioned by one of the board members in one of the meetings, conflict's in the eye of the beholder. I've personally never seen conflict on this issue. In fact, I've seen it quite the opposite. There's more conflict on the other rivers where there's people are sitting in a hole and plugging it up for the whole time. It's a dangerous precedent that we're going to set as a state population when you start allowing one user group to have an absolute influence over many other user groups. We keep hearing that the fish are being affected, and we've heard the opposite from ODFW saying on the last meeting that motor usage likely has no effect on the population of the salmon and the Siletz. So that's from ODFW, the regulatory board. Motors provide an opportunity for everybody, no matter what form you're in. If you're a young kid, if you're a disabled guy, it doesn't matter who you are, they provide opportunities for everybody to get to use that. And while also the operator of the boat, for many people, get to fish while they're going and they don't have to row all day. We've talked about Oregon State Marine Board funding being in jeopardy. We have private money that's in place, ready to go. And if we can't get matching funds, then that goes away to make the facilities better for everybody, non-users, users, everybody in the middle. There is an economic impact of this regardless. It's been said that people will leave this river, and if that's what the ultimate goal is, that's what we're seeming to get to, but that will have an economic impact on everybody throughout the greater community, Newport, and the greater coastal community for restaurants and hotels, etc. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Dave Grigsby.
No comment. I'm just listening. Thank you.
Mike Kosidar?
Morning. My name is Mike Kosidar. I'm a owner of land mile upriver from Morgan Park. I'm a third generation landowner. Anyway, I want to start off by saying in 1987, they started this no jet boat, no jet pumps above Morgan Park. By doing that, they haven't solved anything. And I want to emphasize that the motors on this lower run in the fall time for these fall Chinooks have gotten bigger and bigger, and the boats have gotten bigger, and it's a nightmare. You try fishing off the bank when these sled boats are blowing up and down the river. Try it. Anyway, in 1987, they should have restricted the motors down to 10 horse. Regardless of where you're fishing, Morgan, moonshine. But now it's gotten so damn crazy. Get rid of all of them. Put everybody back on the oars. And these people that cry that they can't oar a boat, get somebody that can oar a boat. Nobody's telling you can't fish. You get somebody that can oar a boat, then you can fish. Anyway, I'm sick of this runaround we're getting. It's over a year now. It's too long. And then if you enact this no motors above sleds and then restrict the motors, I hold 10 horse and under from Morgan up. 15 horse, they can still blow up the riffles. That's not solving anything. I've already been over this. You're not going to get rid of these sled boats blowing up the river over these spawn beds in the fall time with these 15 horse motors. And then they recommend no wake. How can you get upstream if you're not blowing a wake? I've been there. And then this etiquette thing. I was fishing off my bank this winter, a guide boat come down with two guys in the front. I seen them coming. I'm fishing. As they come by me, he told his dudes to go ahead and cast out right in front of me. You think he didn't get an earful? I could have went down to Morgan Park and confronted him, but I'll let it go. But if this continues, you're going to see more and more conflict, and it'll get physical. I'm not kidding you. By putting in boats with motors on them at mill site, you will see a hell of a mess. I say get rid of all the motors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Juanita White Bear? Juanita, if you'd like to speak, go ahead and take yourself off mute.
Are you there, Juanita?
I can come back.
Yeah.
I can come back. Okay. Buddy, Lane?
I guess this afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Buddy Lane. I'm a Siletz tribal member. I'm an elected representative of our tribal government. I'm a lifelong citizen of the town of Siletz in the area. The Siletz River bears the name of our confederation. My folks, my grandparents, going all the way back to when people were confederated there in the 1850s, is where our ties come from there. There is conflict on the river. To assume there isn't is just kind of head in the sand antics. When people are asked to give comment from the newspapers or the radio, people don't want to give their names because of how they're treated and ridiculed on social media and in person. And I hear lots of folks talking about economic impact and what it'll do to a resource, and that is not in the calculus. For myself, it's about the resource that we only get to use for the period of time when we're here. And it's about those that come after us and things that don't have a voice to speak for themselves, or why I'm here doing this. And anytime resources are being harmed, whether it's pollution, people running recklessly up the river, there's conflict there. And at meetings, we heard a lot of folks talking about a year long. People talked about, and I've heard it here today, and I wish it were that way, that we could self-regulate ourselves, that we were good about it, that good stewards that way. But we sat at meetings and then people saying, we can do this ourselves. And then we got a video of those same folks hammering up the river in sleds, coming up on plane without life vests, I start paying attention. I live on the river and have my entire life. Life preservers and motor switches. That's just not the regular. So something needs to be done, and there has been far too long without regulation. And unfortunately, that's where we're at. To underscore what that river means to us, it is like another person, a being. We have coming of age ceremonies there. We get our foods from there. It is something we have to speak up for. And I think that there's like this self-fulfilling when I think a lot of people would use their oars, but this is economic motivation. They realize they can't keep up with these folks that are using mechanical advantage. So it makes a whole other user group do it for economic means, which I have sympathy for a little bit, but that's not what this river is about. It's and there will come a time where I won't be able to get up and down my trail, and I'll have to rely on hopefully people I'm good to, younger folks, the next generation, help me out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Juanita, White Bear.
She responded in a comment.
No.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, it was off mute for a second. Now it's back.
You're back on mute, Juanita. If you would like to provide testimony, please unmute. Okay, let's take another online person.
I don't know how to pronounce this. AWALGAMOTT. Awalgama. They just left. Okay. How about some? Alyssa Lane.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alyssa Lane. I am a lifelong Siletz resident and a tribal member. And I've had the privilege of living on the Siletz River my entire life. And I'm here today just to speak for the river itself and to express that motors just don't belong on the Siletz River. They are disruptive to our fish population. They're disruptive to everyone who tries to use the river without a motor, frankly, whether you're fishing on the bank, using it during the summer to harvest foods, swimming with your family, doing the town loop in a kayak, or for tribal folks participating in any one of our traditional ceremonies that require use of the river. Through my lifetime, I've seen the river just become overpopulated with motorboats, fishermen from all over come and flood our river, for lack of a better word. And these are giant vessels, they're big. And I agree with folks who spoke before me that there is conflict. You have a lot of people using the river for an economic vessel and other folks using it as either sacredly or in a much less aggressive way, so to speak. And everyone should be able to use the river to fish, to swim, to harvest traditional foods, to practice our ceremonies. And the bottom line for me is that we need to prioritize the health of the river itself, not people's pocketbooks, or be fearful of some sort of economic hurt. We have one river here, and we need to take care of it. And this idea that everybody is all hands on deck caring for the river just isn't true. We've seen our fish population go down, our crawdad population go down. There are things, many things that call the Siletz River home. And I just feel like we need to do better by this body of water that we all depend on. So I just urge you, motors just don't have a place on the Siletz River. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bo Johnson.
My name is Bo Johnson, I'm a Siletz resident. I'm in full support of the tribe's original petition to ban the use of motors above Jack Morgan Park. I believe that the amended proposed rule changes don't solve the problems that were stated originally. And I'm getting the narrative that we're taking the river away from everyone, but it doesn't restrict motor access below Jack Morgan, and that's a lot of river. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's try Foster. Foster online.
Foster, can you hear us? Please take yourself off mute if you can.
Okay, we'll move on. Kevin Goodall.
Hi, my name is Kevin Goodell, and I'm a Siletz tribal member, and I've lived in Siletz my whole life, and I'm a tribal elder, and I have fished on the Siletz River for so long. And I mean, there used to be spots you could walk to. We were kind of poor, so that's all you could do, and we just had different holes along the river. And I tell you, throughout the years, now during fishing season, you look down off the bridge and you can just see boats lined up with motors. And when you try to go fishing yourself to some of your old fishing holes, they talk about etiquette and this and that. They have no etiquette. They're out there to make money for the people that are paying them money to be on our river and do this to it. And anyway, I've been on the bank and had been fishing with my grandkids, with my kids, and had them pull right at, yeah, like Mike Kuzer said, they will whip right in there and tell their guys to start throwing, their poles in the water and don't have any consideration for the local inhabitants of the river that actually utilize it to put food in their families' mouths and things. And anyway, I completely think that I was also on the SOS, the Save Our Siletz River committee at one time, and just believed that there shouldn't be any motors. I don't think there should be any motors in any of the rivers. So Anyway, that's all I could say. Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll just continue with people in the room until we can figure out how to get Juanita in.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Stan?
I'm just, I'm here, just I'll decline, just here to listen.
Okay. Scott Hammerman?
Thank you all. I'm Scott Ammerman. I'm a local fishing guide in the Siletz, but I'm also head of the Siletz Anglers Association, Oregon Anglers Alliance. It brings me joy to see so many people in this room that are passionate about the Siletz. We have a lot of people in here that really care about the river, and I think if we work together, we can do amazing things. And we saw ODF&W Commissioner Bob Spellbrink testify earlier today. That's pretty cool to see people in here doing stuff. We've been labeled throughout this process as being users of the river, destroyers of the river, a lot of things like that that are a false narrative. We are the stewards of the river. Sheila earlier said fishermen want more fish. We're the ones out there running the hatchery programs. We're the ones catching the fish that become the broodstock hatchery fish that turn into our hatchery fish, so they're fish for all. We do a lot of stuff in the community. We do a lot of stuff in the area. Misty Logan earlier asked about what's going on with Old Mill Site. Old Mill Site boat ramp and the road going into it are in dire straits of need of stuff, need of improvements. Our Siletz Anglers group just gave $50,000 to the town of Siletz to help upgrade the roads in there so we can get Oregon State Marine Board funding. Oregon State Marine Board funding is going to be crucial for us to do boat ramp repairs on Old Mill and Moonshine that we're currently working on, but also if we ever hope to get a launch at Logston or upgrade things that are at Twin, we need ODF&W funding, because at the April meeting, when you guys went through your grant funding, you denied every fund that didn't have motor use associated with it. Every grant request that had motor use, you granted. Everyone without it, you denied. So I want to ask staff, if we remove motors, are we losing the opportunity to do upgrades and stuff like that? We are the caregivers for the river. Old Mill Site, I got a picture of the tractor from the town of Siletz that went off the end of the boat ramp. You can see the end of the boat ramp at high water. It drops straight off. Here's a vehicle, a truck and boat being pulled out. We had a car go off the boat ramp that's still in the river that the person died. They found their body down below Ojala, but in their waders, but their car is still sitting in the middle of the river down below there. Member Withy was very adamant that when he opened rulemaking to not restrict access to all users, he said, be creative, find ways to do this. You want to compare this river to the Wilson and the Trask when you said be consistent, Alan. Those rivers have gas motors to certain points and electric motors above them. To me, we're doing a lot of projects. We offered Lincoln County Parks $100,000 to help start the Moonshine Park so you guys can get matching funds, because oftentimes you look for those things. We are in the community trying to do stuff. So
thank you, Scott.
I appreciate you guys. So if you guys want to look at pictures, there's the old mess.
We'll put them in the record.
Yeah, I'll leave them.
Do we have Juanita now?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for listening to all the comments. My name is Juanita Whitebear. I'm from another nation, an indigenous person from the Southwest. I am now embedded deeply and invested in not only my land, but the homelands that I live on now. And the Siletz River is one of them. My companion is an elder. I have children and grandchildren that are Siletz tribal members. And when I first moved here, I didn't understand why the Siletz tribe couldn't hunt or fish on their rivers. And I found out the political arena behind that. And now I see that we're here at the table talking about the motors on the river. My concern is not only the economic and cultural impacts, but the natural resources of the impacts that all what's happening on the rivers with these boats up and down. And I heard an elder speaking, just a moment ago that lived here for generations and how upset he was about the motorizing boats and the fights that might go on the river, which is nothing new to us as Indigenous people, to have access to our tribally, rightfully birthright owned to fish on our rivers. But I'm hoping that everybody does the right decisions because the oil spilled in these rivers from those all boats and the trash is affecting our salmon, not only our salmon, but our waters, our natural resources of our plants, and all the other entities that live on the river, including down to the microorganisms out deep down in the rivers that help feed, and the wetlands and all above. So I'm hoping everybody does the right decision for the future generations of all people, of all colors, of all nations, and help save this river because it needs it. And I thank you for your time. Again, I'm not from here. I'm from another country, from the southwest of New Mexico. But I am concerned of what's happening where I live now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Dylan.
Sure, I'm gonna make a couple comments here. All right, thank you for giving me the time to make a couple comments. Just for the record, my name is Dylan Gorman. I work as a biologist for the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians. Just a little bit about my background. I've kind of been involved in this process, but haven't made a lot of public comments until we've gotten into the proposed rulemakings here. Just a couple things that I wanted to provide some perspective on. And my background too, I worked as a fishing guide for about 8 years on the Siletz River. I taught at Oregon State. I taught fly fishing and steelhead fishing classes to the university students. And I've been a Coast Guard licensed captain for over 10 years. So a couple things here just on the history of this. If you run the numbers, a petition comes up to restrict motor access in some form on the Siletz every 6.25 years from the year 2000. And so to me, when I look at this, I see reasonable people working within the bounds from a civil society to try and enact some change instead of maybe more drastic forms of conflict, right? And so I think that's a very important thing to keep into perspective. The system's working, people are putting forward these issues, and they're trying to see some sort of change come forward. The other thing too, and just going back on the history of this, is that I hear a lot of comments. In fact, there were several made today about, hey, maybe if there was some etiquette or education along with motor use. And I find those comments kind of just disingenuous based on the history, because Oregon State Marine Board, along with members in the early 2000s involved in the petition process, put forth a Siletz River user etiquette guide.
What?
And actually, Jennifer Cooper. I'm on a.
Hang on.
I'm on a conference call. Just a minute.
Okay, don't worry about it.
I know who that is. So
That's okay.
I paused your time. Don't worry. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, good. So the Marine Board has actually been involved in a petition process prior that put forth a Siletz River user etiquette guide. And actually, one of the individuals involved in that did submit some earlier public comment in this process. Jennifer Cooper provided it. And I have not been able to actually get a copy of that user guide, but the fact remains that etiquette user guide information has been put out there for motor use, yet we're still back here, right? And so I do think that we could expect, if we don't see something come out of this, that we're going to still see these petitions come forward, you know, on average in that same time span, 6.5 years, 6.25 years. The other thing here, just some perspective on the use of broodstock tanks, is that many of the other rivers up north, Tillamook, Wilson, Mistaka, they have broodstock programs. Anglers have broodstock boxes, and yet they either have electric motor use or no motor use. And so they still are able to use those programs.
Thank you.
All right.
Angela? Sandana?
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Sandra. I am the Natural Resources Director for the Confederated Tribes of Siletz. I'm a tribal elder, and I live in the community of Logston upriver near Moonshine Park along the Siletz River. And I've been faithfully engaged in this process for over a year and a half. And I was very pleased to see at the last quarterly board meeting that the materials submitted a week prior to the meeting indicated that they were supportive of the petition as it was submitted. And the rationale given was well written, it was well reasoned, and it definitely supported support for the petition as submitted. And yet at the meeting, all of a sudden there was a change. And now the draft rules are this compromise position that, quite frankly, is arbitrary and capricious and makes no sense. Why Mill Park? You've heard today from many other river users that Mill Park is inadequate and it's substandard and it's not safe. And yet somehow that made sense to the board to split the river in that point. And I would argue that that is not addressing the issues that have been raised. All you're doing is concentrating motorized use in a smaller section of the river. And the landowners along that area, the spawning beds in that area are just going to have increased use and increased conflict if you concentrate motorized use in a smaller section of the river. So the only solution to that is to support the petition as submitted and restrict motors above Jack Morgan Park. And, you know, I hear the call for having a compromise or having a negotiation, and the board tried that through the RAC process. We met repeatedly. I was on that RAC. Many of you were as well. And the group was unable to come to a compromise or a consensus decision on how to move forward. It wasn't for lack of trying. It wasn't for lack of discourse or desire. It just, this is a complicated situation, and it's up to the Marine Board to make the right decision for the river and for the users. There is conflict. You know, when I said people had quit fishing the river, I meant because there was conflict on the river with other users. And so I don't appreciate my words being misconstrued on that note. And we hear it repeatedly. People are afraid to come forward and speak because of the potential backlash. And so this really does need addressed, and I have great faith in the Marine Board to do the right thing. We will continue to participate. We're looking forward to the work session in June. And, you know, we need a good decision out of this because something needs to change for the river and for the people who live along the river. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay Ellis?
Yeah. Jay Ellis, recreational angler. I was on the RAC and been to every one of these meetings. And my testimony today is a little different because I've shared that I'm pro motor many times at all the RAC meetings. And what I want to talk about today is how I'm just really disappointed with the whole process with the Marine Board. Gosh, it's the staff recommendation to give the tribe everything they were asking for and not try to find a middle ground or compromise, to me, is totally biased. And there's a lot of great comments and testimony from people from both sides of the room here, both sides of the issue. And there's a lot of merit on all the arguments, and to just throw it all out and just go 100% all in with what the tribe wants with one side is totally biased. I mean, the board, to me, it's like you've got a trial with a one-person jury, and the jurist is the one person's totally biased. I mean, that's totally unfair. And so I'm just like to speak to the board of directors that they would kind of review the whole process and try to find a reasonable middle ground to what we're all talking about here. There's no reason why you can't keep some motor usage on the river and also give the tribe kind of some of what they want, meet somewhere in the middle. To me, a great resolution would be gas motors from Illahee down, electric motors from Illahee to Moonshine. Or you could do a flow restriction above Illahee. And to me, those are reasonable and they should be sought out. There's absolutely no reason why we can't find some middle ground here someplace. And it's clear from all the testimony today that you've got a bunch of river users that have good testimony about why they want to keep their motors. And then you've got a lot of people that don't use the river, but they sit in their office or at home and they think rivers shouldn't be out there, or if motors shouldn't be out there on the river. Or maybe they're saying if there were no motors, maybe then I'd go use the river, but they're not using the river. And I thought the Marine Board was supposed to regulate users of the resource, not people that sit at home or in their office and think about how the resource should be used. So you got to try to find some middle ground there. Both sides have some good, compelling testimony. And again, though, it's disappointing the way this whole thing's went. This is my 7th day I've had to take off work and spend a lot of gas money to come to these meetings. And a lot of us have done the same thing. And it's been a costly endeavor and totally biased in my opinion to date. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nolan Davis.
So somebody else joined online, or they?
Yeah, there's 3 that have joined online,
Okay.
but they came in after everyone you're signed up. So
Got it. Okay.
I'm Nolan Davis. I'm a fishing guide on Siletz. I've been guiding on Siletz since 2014, and I've been fishing it since 2007. There's absolutely conflict on the river. When I look back at river use in the 2000s, early teens, compared to what it is now, there were a few motors on the river, and everybody kind of split up, and there was no disruption. Now, what has happened is there's been a massive influx in motor use. Now it's 90% motor users, and a few guys that can still stomach it will float no motor. I'm here to speak for a number of people that are afraid to come out. Think of me as the sacrificial lamb in the guide community. There's a number of guides that think motors shouldn't be on the river as well, but they're a little afraid to stick their neck out. And it was mentioned earlier, when you look at interviews that were done and published, people didn't want their names posted. Why would they not want their names posted? Why would they not put a stamp on something they had to say? They don't want backlash. So I'll come out and say it. It's the few that ruin it for the many. Motors have been irresponsibly used on the river these last dozen years, and that's why we're here. That's why this issue keeps coming up. I would argue that there's also no safety concern between rowing a boat versus motoring with a boat or with a drift boat. The same amount of boats have sunk over the years. I believe it's documented. A lot of users who don't like using motors have been pushed out and no longer fish the Siletz. If motors were to go away, guaranteed those users are going to come back. People still use their drift boats in the tidewater in areas that allow motor use. There would be no loss of funding as far as boat registration. Almost all the users that use the Siletz use their boats elsewhere where motors are allowed. Not all I have to say.
Thanks, sir.
We have a few people online. It looks like everyone else in the room has been called. So Tracy VR.
Go ahead and unmute yourself, Tracy, if you'd like to present testimony.
We can come back to you, Tracy. How about Todd Logan?
Hello. This is a new office. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, Todd.
All right. My name's Todd Logan. I'm a fishing guide, Siletz tribal member. Was invited to be on the rack. And they say that there is no conflict. As Jay testified, that people sit in their offices and don't use the river. And I believe that's because they have made it uncomfortable for people to use the river. And so I don't find value in that. The amount of hate that's spewed on Facebook with comments, with what people hear, and that fear mongering from Scott. This one says, I've heard people talk about if motors are banned, the tribe would, yes, still be allowed to use motors. Spewing that misinformation is a direct insult. You got people calling Siletz tribal members subclass citizens. So yes, there is a ton of conflict on the river because they only come here to use that river and they do not care about the community like they state. How somebody operates a tractor running off, there hasn't been any money put into boat ramps for how many years, but they want to talk about it like we're not going to have boat ramps if they shut the motors down. The handicap accessible, not one of these guides has a handicap accessible boat, but they want to use the handicap word to justify their stance. I find that deplorable. Not one talk has been about making any of these boat ramps more handicap accessible, only to make it more accessible so they can have their motors. By limiting motors, you're not limiting anybody from using the river. You're just limiting the motor use. And so I am in support of, from Jack Morgan, no motors. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Let's try Tracy again. Tracy, if you'd like to speak, go ahead and go off mute. Okay.
Is it, so in the comments, Tracy, there's a call-in number. If you could do that, we'll give you the opportunity. And for those other people online who haven't testified, could you raise your hand just so we know that you're here and would like to testify?
I'll go ahead and take Jeff.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Chela Awiti. My name is Jeffrey Sweet. I am an enrolled member of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians. And I have grown up in Siletz my whole life, living up in Logston, throughout inner Siletz as well. I grew up fishing up Logston all the way down to Green Thumb, as well as continuous summer floats with my families. And my daughter growing up, which over time has definitely dwindled down because of the use and the overpopulation of motorboats, as well as wanting to create programming with the Oregon Coast STEM Hub and the Siletz Fire Department and utilization of the river, but trying to find a safe spot that we can take our kids throughout the summer. Someplace that's not, overly populated, someplace that we can use our river in the safest way possible. And yeah, that's just what I wanted to, kind of put out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's everyone until we get Tracy back. Just wait till Tracy comes back.
Yep. We only have about 10 more minutes, so then I'll be able to close it, so.
2 o'clock.
Oh, it's 2 o'clock. Okay. So I guess let's go into recess. And we'll continue to watch.
Okay.
For people to participate when they log in, we can take that.
Yes.
Hi, Steve. If you'd like to present comments, please feel free to take yourself off mute.
Super. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So my name is Steve. I've been fishing the Siletz River since 1999. I'm a recreational angler and I own a drift boat. I've had a drift boat for 26 of those 27 years. And I also have a motorboat, which I fish in tidewater from the bull's bag all the way down to the mouth. I'm not opposed to the use of motors where they're appropriate and where they're needed. And I don't think that they're needed in the free-flowing sections of the Siletz River. I'll just relay two things. I've definitely seen people on motors operate what I consider to be an unsafe fashion, personally, where they've come close to me, a little bit out of control. I'm rowing down the river. And something else which I'll remark on is that I have personally witnessed cases of people running outboards on motorboats, moving up from one pool to the next, where they were scraping through the gravel. I could hear whether it was their skeg or whether it was the prop or whether it was one of those metal rings that people put around the prop to prevent damage. I've heard the scraping and the banging of outboards going up from one pool to the next. It's unmistakable and it's really inappropriate. And so I'll just end by saying that I'm opposed to motors anywhere on the free-flowing sections of the Siletz River. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Steve. Here's somebody else.
Juanita, but Juanita had already provided comments.
Okay.
She does have somebody that lives with her. Is it her or is it possibly somebody else on her login?
Juanita, is there another member in your household that wanted to speak?
Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. I just know she has somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put us back on mute.
Okay.
And we'll wait.
Grab them on the bar. Okay.
Maybe lead day next.
Good afternoon, Nate. Looks like you just joined. Did you want to provide public testimony?
No, that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yeah, may I say something quickly?
Absolutely.
No, I just would like to tell you I support the recommendations as as they stand. I'd love to see kind of the hybrid solution that you've chosen, or that it's looking like you may choose.
Thank you. Could you state your last name for the record? I see it, but I'm not sure I'm willing to try and pronounce it.
Yes, it's Connect.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
But they drop back off. Okay. I'm gonna put us back on mute until we get more. Oh, they just left again. There we go. Okay.
Can you hear us, Marcy?
Yeah.
So we've kind of been in adjournment because there's been a break in testimony. So if you'd like to testify, we'd be happy to listen.
Yes, I stand with our tribe. I would like to restrict the motor access on our upper Siletz River. And I'm sorry about my voice. I have allergies. But it's important to us to keep the river the way it is and the habitat. And that's basically all I have.
We appreciate the comments.
Great, thank you.
You said which you, yeah, you were not wrong.
up-to-date coverage and analysis, so you can know what the issues are and how they can impact your community.
Julie?
Yeah, I mean, I'll-
So we're gonna Hi, Rihanna. We see that you just joined us. Did you want to provide testimony?
Raina, if you'd like to provide comments, you can go ahead and take yourself off mute.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. My name is Raina Mason. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Siletz. I'm also a mother and wife to Siletz tribal members, and I support the ban of motorboats on the upper Siletz River.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all you want to contribute? You've got 3 minutes. And if you don't want to speak
I
anymore,
also
that's
have,
just fine.
yeah, I also have my daughter here who wants to make a statement as well.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My name is Sahaley Mason. I'm 18 years old. I'm a Siletz tribal member, and I support the ban to keep our water and fish safe.
Thank you very much. So we're on break until 2 o'clock, till this meeting closes. So the microphone and cameras will be going off. All right, it's now 2:00. The public hearing on this proposed Siletz River rules is now officially closed. Thanks for all who attended.